Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here after Carlisle have lost their first home game of the season against Stoke City in the League Cup. Look, this is a result that I said in the Gillingham match reaction that didn't really mean too much, and I do stand by that. But you know, it wasn't a disappointing performance by any means. I don't think. I think we did play well. I think we'll be disappointed we didn't score with some of the chances we created. And there's a lot of positivity to take from that game. The first goal, a lot of people are blaming the goalkeeper for, and it's one for me that it's not the goalkeeper's fault, but that isn't to say that he couldn't have done better with it, kind of thing. Look, them kind of goals, and for both of the goals today, I don't think them kind of goals are scored in League Two. That's just my honest opinion. That they were just faster and quicker than us, and I always think against these top teams, the big difference you can tell between the two is not necessarily pace or how fast you can run, but how fast you can run in like a burst, how quickly you can accelerate, and also the first touch. They're the two things that I think separated the two teams today, and usually separate teams when a higher league team's playing a League Two team. That first touch and that burst of pace, and that's what Stoke took advantage of today, because they were sending balls kind of over the top, and our defenders aren't slow by any stretch of the imagination, especially not Aaron Hayden and John Mellish. But when you've got wingers that are faster than our whole defence, and we're playing a high line this season, so they took advantage of that. And despite that, I think, Harry Lewis managed it quite well. He made a number of one-on-one saves. I know people will slate him a lot for this game, but he kept us in it in the first half. And I know I launched a lot of criticism on him last week, but and social media just seems to be berating him after this game. And I almost think that that's just a knock-on reaction from the game against Gillingham, where he was awful. But you can't blame Harry Lewis for that today. I don't think you can really blame much from our team. Yes, defend the set piece better, maybe. On the second goal, I suppose if you don't kick it long and you look for the pass, then with that goal's maybe avoided, because we just kick it long, like gain the ball back, have time to build, and manage to make a right good opportunity out of it. But yeah, I don't think there's too much you can say that was wrong on that one. There's something I want to address as well. There's a lot of people, if you look on social media, that say this season's too much like last season, and I think that is true in the fact that we made individual errors in our last game. But we're not in any way playing the same way as we did last season. I think that needs to be addressed right away. Yes, it's the same 5-3-2 formation, but compared to last season, we're passing it so much better, and we're playing differently. We're playing almost in a very different formation. Last year it was a 5 at the back, and that's what it seemed to be, a solid back 5. Now it's a back 3 with our wing backs pushing on. Harper hasn't managed to come into the team yet, but his replacement Williams and Jack Ellis played today. Whoever's playing at them full back positions, they're often very, very far forward, and we seem to be playing a much higher line, which is the biggest difference for me, which pushes us a lot further up the pitch, which lets them full-backs be on the edge of the box, putting crosses in. And we're creating opportunities. People say we're not creating, but we are creating opportunities. We just haven't been, whether it's lucky or, Charlie Wykes missed 2 very good chances in 2 games. I know he's meant to be the saviour, and I still think he will be, but he needs to do better with the chance at Gillingham where he hits the crossbar, and there's one where he puts it just wide today from, about 6 yards. We're creating opportunities for our strikers. I think the frustration comes from the fact that them opportunities are coming from out wide, and it doesn't look like our midfielders are doing much, which is also an issue for me, but I also think there's not really much choice in the matter from Paul Simpson's point of view. It does frustrate me that we've got a much higher budget this year, and yet we're still having to play Ben Barkley in midfield. I like Ben Barkley, he's one of my favourite goals of all time, but he's not a midfielder. He shouldn't be playing there, and I don't think he did too much wrong, but what you get there is you've got a centre-back playing midfield, and then you've got two very defensive midfielders there. What made our midfield so good when we were playing, when we were getting promoted, when we had Guy, Moxon, and Gibson, was the fact that you had three very different midfielders there. You had Guy as the holding six, Moxon as the number 8 box-to-box, and Gibson who would push on further up the pitch and try and create something. That was our strength during the promotion season. What's happening now is you've got three very similar midfielders. Not one of them's a number 10, which is what I think we need. Which is frustrating because I think you could play a very, very solid midfield of Butterworth, Vila, and Neil, because there you've got, your number 6 in Harrison Neil. Josh Vela can push up and can do a bit more as a kind of number 10. I think he's more situated as a defensive midfielder under Paul Simpson, but you can play that role. And then you've got Danny Butterworth, who is a weird one for me because I think he sees himself as a striker, and I think that's where Paul Simpson wants him as well. But he's played that number 10 role before, and he's played it well. And things did change when we put him on against Gillingham. So for me, I think we've got the tools there if we want to use them. But I think long term, Simpson sees Butterworth as a striker and doesn't want to kind of confuse him or waste him in midfield. And what we're looking to do is bring in attacking midfielders in the transfer market. And you've got to keep in mind, there's still a good, 2 weeks or more in the 3 weeks even in the transfer window. That's not right, is it? It's probably about 2. We've got time to bring in players. And I think, look, we've only really lost 1 game this year. Yes, our record will say 2 losses because of this Stoke game, but it doesn't really matter. We were never going to win the League Cup. Yes, you want to go on a good cup run, everyone does, but just look at some of the other results. Blackburn 4-0 up on Stockport at half-time. That's how these games can go. And they do quite often. We were playing a game against a team in the Championship who had come off a very good win in their Championship season, and they're a team that are going to try at least to push for the top end of the Championship. And yes, they rotated a few players, but that's still a very good Championship team we came up against today with what was arguably not our first 11. You think of Ellis, probably doesn't start. That midfield 3 definitely isn't our first choice. But yeah, there's nothing to worry about in this game. I'm more worried about the mistakes we made against Gillingham. But overall, in the 2 games, I think we've played some nice stuff. And we are creating chances. I think that's the biggest myth I've ever seen. When I look online, the people are saying, it's the same as last season, we're not creating any chances, we look too rigid. I honestly don't know what game people are watching sometimes. Maybe it's just me, but we're playing much higher up the pitch. We're playing nice football, passing football. Yes, we knock it long sometimes, but every team does. You can't expect to always play out from the back. We're not Man City. If the pass isn't on, we'll hoof it long, like any team in this division would. But we've got the players to do that now with Charlie Wyke. And even when we don't, and we've passed it, we've got, the striker in Danadu that can run through, if he so pleases. I wasn't really happy with him today. I think he didn't make the runs that he maybe could have. But I still think there's a lot to be encouraged by. And I'm not too worried about this season just yet, having thought about the Gillingham result a bit more. Because even look back at Gillingham, yes, it was 4-1, and I know people say that it wasn't a 4-1 game, but look at the stats. We had more possession, more shots, a higher XG. I just think it was individual errors that let us down in Gillingham. It was nothing to do with the way we were playing. That and a few missed chances, and that game could have been very different. And you can almost say the same about today, but look, Barrow is, despite them winning their first 2 games, I think Barrow is an easier fixture than both Gillingham and definitely Stoke. At Brunton Park, the first league game at Brunton Park, hopefully the whole stand's going to be open, which I think does affect the team when there's only one stand open with home fans in. So hopefully a full ground for the Barrow game. Coming off a decent performance against Stoke, hopefully we can pop their balloon and really put a dampener on there because sort of momentum they're starting to build up. And push ourselves further up the league. That's the hope, and that's what I think can happen. I don't think there's much to be worried about at the minute, but you're always you're always gutted about being knocked out of a cup competition, aren't you? Because in the mere essence of it, I like football and I want to go and see more football matches, and there'll be more football matches if we stay in the cups longer. But it's never a cup competition we're going to win. The real prize there is to push on and try and get a Premier League club that brings a lot of money into the club. But it just wasn't to be. Despite a good performance, we got knocked out by a very good Championship team. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Am I just rambling nonsense? Please let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching, and in a bit.